So we still are at very low percentages of new production in the subbasin. Nonetheless, and I will just also point out that to date, the new production applications have been distributed widely across several of the large subareas of the basin, and therefore we aren't seeing sort of concentrated pumping. Having said that, most of the pumping to date is shown there in the western sub-area, but that's a little misleading because of the one large application that we had in that area for 215 acre-feet a year. And so if we take that out, you can see that most of the new production has been in the western sub-area along with the central sub-area. So, but again, that production has been distributed sufficiently across those areas that I think that even if you said that you were going to put the 540 acre-feet at any one point, you still would be at a situation where you would not be creating excessive drawdown on material injury. Nonetheless, I think that going forward, you can't just keep doing this as a one-well equation. At this point, when we get new applications, we look at the aquifer parameters surrounding that application, and we look at the production that's associated with the application and make determinations as to the potential for localized material injury. Again, to date, that hasn't been any kind of a problem. Going forward, however, if we continue to see new production applications coming in that are significant amounts of water, and I mean, above 1% here of the native safe yield. Again, we haven't reached that yet. But I do think that we need to think about how we could affect that analysis. And I know we've talked about a groundwater model in the past. It could be that we could do something less extensive than that, but that would just simply be my recommendation, that we continue to look for and consider what would be needed if the new production applications continue to rise. And that's really all I had. Be glad to answer any questions.
This is Adam, fellas.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm having a hard time understanding this table. So in the left side, you have the year acre-feet, and then minus, I don't know what BNUK is. That bank?
It is. Let me explain that, Adam. I'm sorry to have been a little obtuse about this table. So we had most of our applications to date have actually been for new production for a new home and domestic use, something on the order of 2 acre-feet a year, just as you saw the 2 applications that Kate described today. Right. But there was one relatively large application for 215 acre-feet a year, and that applicant's name was Mr. Bannock. So that's what that stands for. And Mr. Bannock had asked for an industrial use for supporting construction at a solar facility. And so that sort of overwhelmed the numbers on the table. And so we just wanted to point out that even though you saw, everyone was saying, well, 2018, only 25 acre-feet, 2019, 27 acre-feet. Wow, 2020. Boy, these new production applications, they're really increasing. And the answer is not exactly. One of them was just sufficiently high. So does that make sense?
Yeah. What about the right side of that table? What is that?
So that is that was our assessment of trying to understand: do we have these applications concentrated in one sub-area of the sub-basin, or are they distributed across the sub-basin? So, yeah, and it's a little unfortunate. I think we were trying to save space there. When it says central, that has nothing to do with 2018. Does that make sense?
I see. That's a cumulative.
Yes, and so that side of the table just simply talks about sub-areas.
Okay, and those include both small pumpers and non-pumper class?
No, they only include new production for the Willis class. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. It does have. I misspoke. For the most part, that's true. But yes, there were some new production applications for some small pumpers.
Okay. One observation about this table. It sounds as we approach the end of the ramp down period, these numbers will continue to go up.
Possibly.
Right.
I don't have a way of predicting it.
Right. It just, observing 2020 and 2021, 2021, we're only in the second month of the year, and we're already up 175.5 acre feet. When you compare it to 2018 and 2019, which was 20 acre feet, or 25 or so.
Right.
So if you project 2021, we could end up much, much higher by the end of the year.
It's possible, yes.
Yeah.
Adam, and just a question for Phyllis. This would be replacement water, right, Phyllis? So they
absolutely. So we are not adding to any kind of overdraft condition. And so there would be obviously no material injury associated with reduction of groundwater and storage. However, our material injury analysis also looks at localized impacts to water levels. That's why the distribution was important to look at for us. Does that make sense, Rob?
Yes, it does. And I just want to make sure that the public knows that when we're talking about this water, this isn't really coming out of the base. It comes out of the basin, but then it's replaced because they're paying for replacement water. So the state water contractors would bring that water back into the basin.
Yes, absolutely. That's correct.
But it does include the small pumper class, though.
No, it doesn't.
A while ago, I thought you said it includes everybody.
So what it includes, Adam, is when a small pumper actually puts in an application for new production, similar to what we talked about earlier.
Correct, but in cases like that, they're entitled under the judgment for free water up to 3 acre feet. So my point is, not every acre foot here is going to be replaced. You're right. The Wallis class, they would pay replacement water assessment. But if there's small pumper class and it's less than 3 acre feet, they just add it to the small pumper class and they will not pay the replacement assessment fees, correct?
That's the way we have been doing it to date, yes. But that's a relatively a very small number of the numbers that you're looking at here.
Understood. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we understand that, because we're going to carry this table, as you said, going forward, which I think it's an excellent idea. But maybe at one point we do need to separate those two.
Good morning. This is Kate. I just want to clarify this a little bit.
Please.
Bannock, Mr. Bannock is the only small pumper that's been approved new production to date. And he actually has 2 different wells. He has a small pumper well and he has his commercial well. So all the water on this table represents replacement water assessments. It doesn't include any small pumper water use.
Okay, thank you, Kate.
It's all 3 acre production. Yeah.
That 3 acre feet is not in here. Okay, great.
Yeah. Would it be troublesome if we have another table for the small pumper class? Because I've heard that concern from small pumpers. One, because there is a limit in the judgment on how much small pumpers can pump, which is the 3,800 acre feet. So could we create a similar table for the approved small pumper class?
Adam, we're still trying to identify small pumpers. And like the application that we have here on the agenda this time that you guys are tabling, that's a small pump that we're trying to identify. We can
talk about the one we've approved.
We can tell you how many small small pumper assessments be collected if you'd like on the next, maybe at the next meeting.
Well, I think Adam's point is as we approve new small pumpers, you'd just like us to keep track of how many of those we're approving.
And we do have that.
And we have that.
Yeah, so, thank you. Thank you.
I can provide you that report probably the next meeting.
Yeah, just to include a table like that in the record. That's all.
I would be interested in for staff to look at, have we collected or how much have we collected?
Mention that, but all new customers have 3 years under the new rate structure. This is how we came up with the tier breakpoints. We looked at, okay, half of the district customers, like the median customer, how much water do they use? And they use about 10 HCF. This is, again, commercial 1 customers. And then we looked at, okay, how about 80% of the customers or total bills? That's most of the customers. And they use 40 HCF. And between these 2 breakpoints, there are 30 HCF of water. So tier 1 is 10 HCF. Tier 2 will be 30 HCF. And the same purpose, we wanted to make sure that most of the customers will stay within those first 2 tiers. Here is the hypothetical customers' bill impact. You can see a little bit of a greater impact for commercial customers, 6135 to 7176 for 12 HCF water use. That's the median customers. Average customer uses 53 HCF, much more than residential customers do. And their bill impact will be about $20, $21. And if the customer uses 170 HCF, that's a 95% of the total bill. I should say it this way, 95% of bills reported 170 HCF of water use or less. So most of the people, of course, will fit under that usage point. Currently, they pay $658.48, and the same customer will pay $725.87. That's commercial 1. Commercial 2 water customers. This customer class uses most water. The water usage, average water usage is the highest. That's the accurate way to put it. Their fixed charge is slightly higher than commercial 1 customers, currently $35.16 they're paying, but we propose their fixed charge to be adjusted upward by $3.50, $38.75. Volumetric rates are the same as for the commercial 1 customers, $2.97 for tier 1, $3.50 for tier 2, tier 3, $4.28. Here's the same graph. We looked at their usage to determine how we are going to set the tier width. 50% of the total bills reported 30 HCF or less, and 80% of the total bills reported 95 HCF or less. You can see the usage level is much higher compared to the other 2 customer classes. Here's the bill impact. 35 HCF is their median usage. Current is $139.03. Proposed is $145 and $145.24. You can see these numbers, so I'm not going to repeat it, but you can see that the bill impact is a little bit greater than residential customers. Okay, for sewer, we have a fixed monthly service charge and volumetric rate, just one volumetric rate, no tiers. Residential customers' fixed portion of the charge currently is $39.31. We are proposing to increase to $43.57. This is $4.26. Yes, something like that. And the volumetric charge, we are proposing to increase by about 5 cents from 0.29 cents per HCF to 34 cents per HCF. So that's the sewer residential customers' rates. And here are the impacts, the same plot that we've been using. You can see the usage distribution here. 37% of the total bills use 7 HCF or less, and 9 HCF, that represents 80% of the total bills. There is a cap at 20 HCF, and we kept that cap for the residential customers. Here is the bill impact. It's kind of all flat and kind of parallel lines. The changes are small because their cost allocation was reduced by roughly 3%, if you recall, in the cost of a service section of this presentation. So even we proposed a 14.5% revenue adjustment for the first year, the average residential customers in the district will experience only 11% of an increase in their bill. $41.34 for 7 HCF under the current rates will be adjusted to $45.96 under the proposed rates. And you can see other usage level billed actual dollar amounts here. Okay, so commercial one customer. We tried to find a set of rates that will impact all customers in the same way, the percentage-wise, big users and small users. We wanted to distribute the bill impacts on all customers as evenly as possible. So their fixed charge goes up from $39.31 to $87.83. For commercial one customers, it's because their discharge strength is much lower than commercial two customers. Their volumetric rate is 68 cents. It's still fairly low. And here is the 50% of the total bills and 80% of the total bills, 9 HCF and 19 HCF respectively. The bill impact, 9 HCF, that represents 50% of the total bills. The current rate is $41.92. The proposed rate is $93.97. Everyone gets approximately 125% rate adjustment. Commercial two customers, we kept the fixed charge the same, but volumetric rates, it's because their discharge strength is about 4 times bigger than that of residential customers or commercial one customers. It's much higher rate, $3.04. Now, 52% of the total bills of commercial two customers, they reported 34 HCF or less usage for the sewer service, and 80% of the total bills reported 96 HCF or less discharge reported to the district. Now here's the bill impact. 34 HCF, that represents the average customer. Their current bill is $78.75, and the proposed is $191.27. And you can see the 96 HCF it goes from $150.67 to $379.90. Now 212 HCF, that represents 95% of the customer. Now this, we only have one customer who use this much water. So that customer, we know who that is. Their current bill is $285, but that will go up to $732.82. So that's the last set of rates that we needed to present. I'm ready for your questions.
Am I right in assuming, this is Director Glennan, am I right in assuming that customers 1 and 2 the businesses that fall under classification of 1 and 2 commercial customers have not been paying their fair share in the past?
That is correct. Now, I want to be clear, it's not their fault that they haven't been, but that it's true that residential customers were, incentivizing their costs.
Is that the way you would interpret it, Drake, Steve, that they have not been? And because we have a small number of them, we've almost kind of ignored them?
It's been basically, they've been on par with the residential rates, and where they have a much bigger impact on the sewer system than residents do.
We've been giving them a break all along on the backs of the...
I think it's just the way the thing was set up in the past, and it hasn't been changed up to this point.
Now with equitability in it looks to make that adjustment.
This is Director Wood, and I have a question, is that on the residential water in the tier system, it's 1.7 for tier 1 and 8.21 for tier 2. But you go over to the commercial 1, and their tier is 1 to 10 for tier 1 and 11 to 40 for tier 2. Why is residential tiers so much stricter versus commercial?
That's it.
And can they be reconciled to where the same tier structure that's on the commercial one be applied to residential? That's what I was thinking. In other words, a way to keep the customers from having to tip into that tier 3, or keep them from tipping in using your own language there of 9 HCF, that the average customer is in that 9 range, to where they can stay in the tier 1. Because the only reason I bring that up is because I see you're doing it for the commercial. I'm wondering, why isn't that applied to residential?
So the methodology I used for commercial customers, we tried to find a 50%, like a median customer's usage point, and 80% of, usage point, which presumably include most of the customers. For residential customers, though, I want you to take a look at this. 7 HCF, the indoor water usage is less than 50%, but the tier 2 breakpoint is 83% of the total bills. So that are very, close to the approach that we took for commercial 1 and 2 customers. Now, commercial customers do not have the distinction between indoor and outdoor water usage. And the state does not calculate their water allocation in the same way as they do for the residential customers. They actually have not determined or decided, or they don't know how to calculate commercial customers' water usage at this point, as far as I know. But the most common way to do it is to use their historical usage data and determine, their water allocation from the agencies. Because commercial customers, it is assumed that they are using what they need. So there is not so much of wiggle room to conserve water. I don't know if it is true for every agency, but that's kind of the assumption we make. So we wanted to...
Commercial has the ability to pass the cost of their water use onto their customer or the products that they're selling, whether it be food or services or goods, that they can absorb that cost there, where a residential person doesn't have that ability. I'd like to be a little more direct on my question, is that currently our Tier 1 caps out at 15, and we're now cutting Tier 1 to 7. So the question was that if the commercial can be at 10, and if we could put the residential at 10, are we still not complying with the state mandate of the Assembly bill and the Senate bill when they say that, we have to cut back because we are cutting our first tier from 15 to 10 instead of 7?
Go ahead. Okay, so here's the slide that the state uses to determine the indoor water allocation, which equals to Tier 1, and outdoor water allocation that equals to Tier 2. We used all the numbers, all the parameters that the state used to calculate this 7 HCF per month. So, if we want to align our methodology with the state, the 7 will be the Tier 1 indoor usage, indoor allocation, water allocation.
Okay, so based on that slide right there, if you have a commercial, like you said, they don't have the outdoor watering, but they do. They've all got a minimal amount, some more, some less than others, outdoor landscaping. But let's take that aside. If the 7 is relegated to indoor use of water, and you said that the commercial is pretty much all demand that they have for inside use of water, like a restaurant or your gas station or service station or wherever, why would the commercial be able to have 10 as the cap on their first tier, using that same slide that you have right there, but the residents have to cap it at 7? That's the thing that I'd like to have explained.
Right, because we wanted to mitigate rate impact for smaller users in the commercial customer class. One thing though I want to point out is how it doesn't matter how we structure commercial customers tier with. The amount of revenue requirements we need to collect from commercial one customer is set. And the amount of revenue requirements we have to collect from residential customers, that's always just one number, it's set. That doesn't change. What we are trying to check the revenue requirements and the different ways to do that. Adjusting a fixed charge portion is one way to do it. Adjusting the tier width is another way to do it. But within the commercial one customer class, under the revenue requirements that they have to meet, that was the best approach that we could use to mitigate rate impact across all the customers within the customer class. I just want to point out that their tier width does not affect residential customers' water rates because they are not subsidizing residential customers any longer, if that makes sense. Did I answer your question? Maybe
well, you asked the question, but I'm still, it just, my thing is that water use is water use. And where commercial will not get pushed into the higher tier 2, later than a residential customer. And that was my question and concern, is that to me, if a commercial water user can pay tier 1 rates up to 10 HCF, then I'm just can't wrap my mind around why the residential customer cannot do the same and have their tier 1 at 10 instead of 7.
If we were to increase the band, this is Perez, General Manager, if we were to increase the band to 10, as Director Wood suggests, would we still be in compliance with state law?
Well, be different than how the state will calculate your water allocation. Your water rate structure is not a water budget rate structure. We are trying to use the same methodology as water budget rate structure so that you can see, you as the district can gauge customers' usage. And that will make your reporting requirement, I thought, a little bit easier because I know you have to report to the state how much water you're using. So that's kind of our intention. I mean, if you do increase the tier width to 10 HCF, that's not illegal if that's what you're asking, but it won't be, we won't be using the same methodology as the state water budget calculating methodology, if that makes sense. We are trying to align our allocation methodology to be the same as theirs. So that's kind of what's going on.
So can I ask you a quick question?
if that was the state's methodology, then they built that methodology possibly on their requirements. Is that safe to assume? The requirements of reduction to 55 gallons per capita.
Right. By taking this approach, you are preparing yourself, your district, to be compliant with their methodology. But, again, I just want to be clear, having a different tier 1 width at this point is not illegal. But it's not, we are not putting ourselves in a very good position, because you do need to prepare yourself, once this regulation takes effect, right? So that's kind of, Quartz Hill, Palmdale Water District, they use water budget rate structure, and they use the same parameters that you use, or we are using here, because, it makes it so much easier. The calculation of the customer's usage, makes it so much easier. So I wanted to bring the same thing to your district, but, without having the actual water budget rate structure, if that makes sense. So we are gauging kind of average customers' usage here instead.
At the end of the day, what I'm looking at is, making sure that our agency is fiscally sound and being in compliance with state regulations and state law.
Yes.
And, but, as for having an easier time making calculations, that's really not my worry. If that's all it is this formula is to make calculations easier, I'm more worried about making things easier on our customers when they have to pay the bill every month. And so, if it's not illegal to do it, and to have the break at 10 instead of 7, that's where I'm going on this. And that's why I brought this up. And the reason I brought it up is because I figured if it's being allowed for commercial, then can it be allowed for residential?
Well,
just a quick question. I'm sorry. Would you want to keep the second tier rate or the width up to the 21? Or were you thinking push all of the tier widths
I don't think we need to go to 40 on that one, but I figured if we go up 3 on the 7 to 10, then we'd move the 21 to 24. And that would keep people pretty close. They're still going to jump, people are going to jump into the second tier sooner than they would have before, but it'll keep a lot of people from jumping into the third tier, except for maybe a couple of months out of the year when water usage is higher during, July, August, and September. You might see some customers jump into that third tier by 2 or 3, and but at least it would give a little bit of a cushion for the residential to go from 15 to 10 is a lot more palatable for the customer versus going from 15 to 7. And the same thing when you've got a 30 HCF going down to 21 to instead go to 24. You're still getting the incentive for the customer to be more conservative because they don't want to go into that third tier, but so you'll get the conservation that you're looking for, but at the same time, it'll help keep those water bills down and then incentivize the customer, saying, okay, I don't want to go into that third tier, so I'm going to really, watch how I'm using my water for the next couple of months to keep their water rates down.
So just a quick comment. If the district does go over the budget, there will be fines associated with it eventually. So if you are planning to allow customers up that second tier and they get used to that greater amount of water use and it pushes you over the ultimate sort of budget of the district, then there will eventually be fines that are associated with it. So if the idea is to influence customer behavior so that it doesn't negatively impact you later on, then the 21 might be better than the 24, just sort of in the long-term look at it.
Okay. I mean, I'm not as concerned about the second tier as I am about the first tier. Because like you said, you have a number there that the majority of the customers stay around 9. And so they will continue to stay around 9. And, but that the second one isn't as critical, I think, as the first one is.
Am I correct in assuming when Chico said it was going to be easier, was it easier to comply with the 1668 and 606 requirements of the legislature, the law? Is that the easier that she was referring to? Because I see right now that the fines, and this sent to us from BB&K just recently, that the fines will be $1,000 a day for during non-drought years and $10,000 a day for being out of compliance in drought years. So the fines appear to be significant, and I came. And I just wanted to clarify that it would be easier. Is that what you meant in compliance?
Yeah, what I meant by easier is more like it will let your district prepare for those, the actual regulation taking into effect. My understanding is you already have like a reporting requirement to the state, correct?
Correct.
Right. And how?
Can I ask a question real quick to clarify something in regards to the fine? Now, if you have the rate structure at 7 and then 14, for 7 and then 21 and then anything above that in tier 3, if the water use goes up regardless of those tiers, are you still subject to fines?
Well, it's a totality of the district in water use.
Yes, should be subject to
that. Then you would be subject to it.
Even if you've got the higher tiers, the people decide, I don't care, I'm going to use the water because I want to keep my lawn green, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to wash both my cars this Saturday on the driveway or whatever. So if the customers, regardless of what we charge them in the tiers, we're still going to be fined. So, to me, that's if it was like if you use that formula of 7 and then 21, and you wouldn't be subject to fines, that'd be a different thing. But if you're moving it to 10 on the first tier, and the people use more water anyhow, you're going to pay the fine. So to me, that's not a reason to keep that first tier at 7. That's just my feeling that, the fines are going to happen to us if people use too much water, period.
I think the tier structure is only part of compliance with these, I just got to say, ridiculous laws. But I understand we have to follow. but I think the tier structure is only part. I think the district has a big part in it also, and that's going to be our campaign to ensure that people stay within, the 55-gallon range per capita as best we can. I mean, we have to be diligent on that side of the equation also. So I think to answer your question, how easy is it going to be to get people to comply? It's probably not going to be very easy.
No, it's not going to be very easy, but I do know that this community does conserve, and they've proven it, by their conservation efforts all this time. Having your first tier at 7 versus your first tier at 10, people are going to use what water they need to use. If they got to wash clothes, they got to take a shower, they got to run the dishwasher or whatever, they're going to do it. And I don't think people are going to change their habits. Now, having them have their water bill be an extra, I think nobody wants to go into tier 3. And throughout my water use on a personal basis, I only have gone in under the current structure. I've only gone into tier 2 for a few months out of the year, and the rest of the time I've been in tier 1. So under this new rate structure, I'll be in tier 1 and tier 2 basically every month out of the year. Because if you use 10, you're going to be in tier 2. If you use 9, you'll stay in tier 1. But I think people are going to kind of fluctuate back and forth, but I don't think we're going to see people wasting water looking at, I can use another 10,000 gallons of water this month, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this. But at the same time, I think people are going to be conservative. I think when they see their water bill, having it an extra 20 or 30 bucks a month put on it, I don't think it's going to be an incentive to make people save more, but other than to just probably make them angry. And then we turn around and they use the water anyhow, and then we end up getting fined. I think the messaging has to come from this agency and this board and the staff to educate the public to say, hey, times are changing. You guys have been doing a great job conserving. If you can cut back any more than what you already have, encourage them to do so, and to make, bring to everybody's attention that, but the thing is that what we're looking at here, like you pointed out, the biggest reason for these rate adjustments that we're doing is not to conserve water, but to pay for the construction on the treatment plant, to pay for following the mandates of having to purchase water because of the adjudication and things like that. So that's the main driving force, and people understand that. And I think people have been doing a great job of conserving, and I feel that going from 7 to 10 isn't going to hurt this agency, and I think it's being fair, and then we can keep the second tier capped at 21, because I don't think hardly anybody goes over 21 unless they're really using a lot of water, and if they are, those are the ones we need to reach out to try to encourage them to be more conservative.
There was a time, and I think we need to move back to that as a district, when we had a budget and a water conservation program. And we got away from water conservation to water efficiency because we wanted to make it a program that goes on not just for a short period of time. And Borax, Rio Tinto, gave us the money to do a lot of those projects in the public school and at the fairgrounds we spent money, but it was money that was given for that particular purpose. And I think what we've seen after that is the result of that program that lasted, maybe 3-4 years. I have a couple of the calendars. We saturated the community with programs that were going on, and so did everybody else. But it seems like in the last 5 or 6 years, those have just gone to the wayside. And I can see that we may be smart to invest or to try to get some funding from organizations to go back and hit the community again with the water efficiency program. And that may come out of this rate study to do that.
Yeah, the conservation in the community right now, and Greg, you touched on it early, and that was the community has responded. They responded for to the first cut of 20%. They overly responded to the mandate during the drought at an additional, I believe it was 24%. And we're way up there in conservation right now. You look around the community, you don't see very many grass lawns anymore, except for Al's, and his is synthetic.
We had the landscaping programs too, and that's what
right. And so I look at this bill that's been passed by the state and requiring now for a community that has gone above and beyond to impose a 55-gallon mandate on people. It's kind of like now they're getting penalized for that. But I don't see in the district anything that we can do about that, especially if the fines are going to be looming that are going to be charged against the district, because it's a totality of the water use that is going to drive that fine and not the individual water use. So, and we're going to go out there and ask them to cut back some more.
Do they fine the homeowner?
No, it's the district.
And I think, the difference between 7 and 10 isn't going to make anybody conserve any more than they're already conserving. But that's different.
I agree.
But the difference between 7 and 10 is going to make a big difference on people that, are paying their water bill every month, and that few extra dollars could make a big difference to them.
I agree with you.
I'm in agreement.
I understand you all are raising very good points. A couple of things. So again, this is our proposed rates. And then one thing I want to mention is that, again, this is not exactly the water budget rate structure, which, Palmdale Water District or Quartz Hill Water District use, right? This is kind of average. We're trying to gauge the average customer's water allocation and reflect to the all agencies. So, this time around, we are bringing in this idea of a water budget formula, and the next time around, when you do a rate study in 5 years from now, maybe your district can consider, actual water budget rate structure, which customizes each individual customer's water allocation. And that achieves the ultimate equitability of cost allocation. So, but this time around, I wanted to have one step closer and prepare your district to that direction. But if you want to change this 7 to 10, I can assure you that's not an illegal. It's not illegal thing to do. Let me show you, though, to put this in the perspective. As I pointed out, Tier 2 rate is lowered by 20 cents for residential customers. And I wanted you to revisit the rate impact here. Even on the customers who use 37 HCF, that's 95% of all your customers, they do not experience like $20 bill impact. The impact is, about 10%, 10 to 11% range. So I just wanted to share this slide one more time so that you can see the actual rate impact in a dollar amount at different usage level. But with a 7 or 10, that's your district to consider. And if you against the 7 HCF, the tier 1 with implementation this time, that is okay with us. But I just want to know that's what everybody's thinking at this point.
Chico, this is Brad.
Yeah.
By moving the tier bandwidths, will that effectively just squeeze the balloon and move the lost revenue from the usage to the base fee?
Well, we can do there are different ways of doing it. But, if we adjust the first tier width, other rates will not stay exactly the same as we presented. Everything will get shifted. If that's asking, yeah.
Because the revenue requirements aren't changing.
No, that's the same amount.
So it's effectively like squeezing a balloon. If we move these tier widths around, it's going to affect everything else.
Exactly. Yeah, within that residential customer class.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We would love to hear other comments or questions from the board members. Please share your thinking.
Does any of the other board members have any questions? Not me.
Okay.
We're having some technical issues with one of the directors. Can you give us a moment, please?
Somebody saying something? Go ahead. Go ahead and try.
Hey, Ken, I need one hearing.
Oh, we got you on the turtle now.
We can hear you.
Okay,
We can hear you, Rick.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can.
Are you hearing me through the phone? Can I be heard?
Rick. Rick.
Rick, we can hear you.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
And this is very frustrating for me. Now I just got unmuted and I couldn't. So we have to get better at this, folks.
Rick, can you hear us?
Try it again. I'm getting reverberation. I can't do it in there.
Can you folks hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
What's going in and out? Okay. The only thing that I want the other board members, we need to hear if they have some input. Director Wood, he made some points, but he was going for 20 plus minutes. We need to make sure that the other board members, if they have anything that they want to chime in on, we understand the importance of the chairs and all that Director Wood is bringing up, but
now he's gone. Is anybody? Can anybody hear anybody? I can hear you. I can see you guys.
This is Director
I
Stewart.
understand what you're saying, Greg, but what they said was, I think to move forward with it the way it is now, and then if we see a need at the next rate study, or even during this period, we can come back and address it if we see the need. But I think to tell them to go back to the drawing board and put stuff in.
Well, I think the only thing that we would be, if anything suffered, it would probably be the building of the reserves by slightly less than what they're proposing. And, 5 years is a long time to wait to readjust that from 7 to 10. I'd like to see what the numbers are. If they increase that to 10, what that would do for the numbers. I mean, it's not really going back to the drawing board. It's just
it's gonna cost us more money to do that.
Yeah.
We're gonna pay for them to go back and redo that. And I know it's just putting different numbers in a formula. But
maybe Brad can interject that and then send it out to everybody as to what it would actually do.
Well,
Brad, can you hear us, Brad?
I can hear you just fine. I can answer the question right now. Moving the tier structure isn't going to save the customer any money. You move it from usage to the base fee.
Yeah, we are saving the money. Yeah.
Not saving anybody anything by moving it around. You're just shifting it.
Yeah.
Okay, Rick wants to know if any other board members have comments, and if not, we need a motion on the recommendation to move this forward.
I make that motion.
You have a motion by Glennan.
Second, Stewart.
Second, Stewart. Roll call vote.
President Rick Webb?
Yes.
Rick Webb said aye. Vice President Byron Glennan?
Yes.
Director Ben Stewart?
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace?
Yes.
Director Greg Wood?
Yes.
Discuss or proposing to the water and sewer rate. So, Steve, you take the lead on that for me, please.
Okay, you want the motion on MB1, do you want it to include everything in MB1 at one time?
Because, okay, because it's all in conjunction, right, Steve?
Yes, it is. It's all.
So why don't we, the one we just voted on, why don't we just voted on, so we...
You just have a motion and a second is all. No, you go.
Let's do this here, Steve, let's do this here. Let's just leave accepting of it as it is, and then we'll just have a second motion in support of that one for B and C, because one's the date and one's to get the information out. So let's ask the board to make motion B and C in support of A, and then we can just vote on those two together to support B. I just support A.
The President is requesting a motion to include item MB1, B, and C to support MB1A. So moved, Byron. Glennan with the motion.
I'm seconding it, Wallace.
Wallace, second.
So let's show the record reflect that we have a motion by Director Glennan and a second by Director Wallace for MB, B, and C in support of the motion we just voted for MBA. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
President Rick Webb?
Yes.
Yes.
Vice President Mark Glennan?
Yes.
Director Ben Stewart?
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace?
Yes.
Director Greg Wood?
Yes.
5 votes.
Can we let the record show there was a 5-0 vote for MB, B, and C in support of A for staff to move forward and toward the target date of May 12th of 2021. Okay, let's move on to the director's comments report, and let's start with Director Stewart.
Good evening, everybody. I don't have a lot to talk about like normal. I usually start my saying off with that. I just want to let everybody know that, hopefully soon we'll be meeting back in person. I know that tonight was a little trying with the connection issues, but, I think the more we get used to it, the easier it's going to be, and we'll be able to get stuff done. As far as this rate study that's going on right now, I'm just reiterating that we are not adopting these fees right now. We're just accepting their proposal, and we're going to review, and then it's like Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to have an open meeting where people can come in or at least call in and ask us questions, and we can hear what the public has to say about it too. So I just don't want people thinking that we're making decisions tonight that's going to be permanent. Or not permanent, or for the next 5 years.
The item MB1B was to set the public hearing for May 12th at 6 o'clock. So yes, to answer your question, Director Stewart, yes, there will be a public hearing.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it very much. That's all I have for the night.
And Director Stewart?
Director Stewart from the President?
Hey,
yes.
Tell him he still has the floor. He still has just a question for clarification about something. So tell him if he has anything else, he still has the floor.
No, he was done.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Director Glennan?
No, nothing. He doesn't have anything.
Director Wallace?
No. Nothing.
Director Wood?
Yeah, I just have one thing I'd like to have for an agenda item. That I don't know if you need board approval or not, Steve, but our building on 20th Street is looking a little worse for wear on the outside, and being as it is our building, maybe look into the cost of sprucing it up outside, maybe giving it a fresh coat of paint, so it's not becoming an eyesore for the community. I don't know if that's something that would have to come back to the board or something you can take care of.
Typical maintenance.
Okay, so I would just like to ask ask you to look in to see if we can get that remedied. Done. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have nothing. This is Director Webb. Only comment I have, let's keep ourselves well. It looks like we could be making a turn for the positive, and let's remain optimistic.
Thank you.
That's General Counsel. Do we have an update from our General Counsel?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report there. And General Manager. Yes.
You take the from yourself down. You can go ahead and have a fourth. Go ahead.
Okay.
For me, do you go ahead and take the last line?
Okay. General Manager update. I have no update. We'll move to Assistant General Manager update.
I just wanted to remind everybody, we are conducting a survey. It was notated in the monthly newsletter that went out in this month's billing cycle. We are encouraging all of our customers to participate. We really want to hear about what we're doing and how we're doing. That information can be found on our website. If you don't have access to a computer, you can always contact us and we can mail you a printed survey. Also, there will be a bulky waste drop-off that is being held at the Waste Management Rosamond Yard this Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. No hazardous or contractor waste or tires are accepted. This is a free event. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. We'll move to Public Works update. Brock?
As we've reported at the past few board meetings, that's issues with the meter reading in our system, or the method of meter. Even though the meter accurately, the radios within some of our meters have failed, causing district staff to manually read over 1,000 meters within the system. About 2 weeks ago, we received those replacements. And in addition to our daily water and sewer maintenance activities, Public Works staff has replaced 823 of those 1,000 plus meters in the system. So at this point, we are slowly returning back to our reading. I'll add the report.
Was them under warranty?
Yeah. Well, no. I'll explain.
Okay.
Thank you, Brock. If there's no other comments, the president would entertain a motion to adjourn. Yes. Yes. No, he won't.
Yes, we will. Before we close out, hey, folks, we apologize for the technical difficulties. We're still going to get it right for you folks. And we'll have it ironed out by next meeting. The apologies because this is not how things have been presented. Hopefully you folks understand the dynamics of what's done and you have a better meeting. So we'll work on it for you. Now would you entertain the motion for the adjournment, please?
Entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Glennan. Wallis. Without objection. You want a roll call?
Yeah, roll call vote, please.
President Rick Webb?
Yes.
Vice President Byron Glennan?
Yes.
Director Ben Stewart?
Yes.
Director Alfred Wallace?
Yes.
Director Greg Wood?
Yes. Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.